We all get those documents, the ones that feel really central. You shared one, 004, the Great Commission.pdf, and yeah, it felt like one of those. So for this deep dive, we really want to just pull out the key stuff, the most important insights from this document about the Great Commission.
Absolutely. And, what really strikes you immediately is that it's framed not just as, like, a historical thing.
Right.
The document takes Matthew 28, verses 19 and 20, and says, look, this is the core call. Share the message, help people understand it, make disciples.
And reach
And reach all nations. Yeah, it's fundamental.
And it goes further, doesn't it? It's not just presented as, a religious duty.
No, not at all.
The document really positions it as the very essence of the church. It's reason for being, almost. A sacred charge.
A sacred charge, exactly. And it really hammers home that this isn't stuck in the past. It resonates now across generations, across geographies. It challenges believers everywhere, anytime.
So this first big idea, then, the Great Commission isn't just an instruction list. It's the living pulse of the church.
You like that phrasing.
It's very evocative, isn't it? It suggests something dynamic, alive.
Yeah. And it breaks this down into 3 key invitations. First one, stepping into the unknown. What's that really about? Is it just travel?
Well, it's more than just geography, I think. It's about pushing past your comfort zone.
Okay.
Mentally, culturally, maybe geographically too. But it's that willingness to embrace uncertainty, to go where the message isn't known or maybe even welcomed.
Right, overcoming that inertia, that fear of the new.
Exactly, that hesitation we all feel sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the second invitation, embodying transformation. That sounds less about words, more about action.
Precisely. The document's clear. This isn't just talk. It's living in a way that actually shows the change these beliefs bring.
How so?
Through acts of kindness, integrity, truthfulness, and how you deal with people. It's personal change, communal change, made visible.
So people see it in action. Yeah. Because honestly, talk is cheap sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Living it out, that's powerful.
Definitely. Okay, and the third one, creating a global tapestry. This links back to the all nations bit, clearly.
Right on. It stresses that this call just cuts across all those lines we draw: nationality, culture, language, money, all of it. The goal is this unified global community connected by hope and, redemption. It's about seeing past the differences.
So taken together, this really paints the church not as some inward-looking club, but as this dynamic body reaching out, concerned with global well-being.
That's a great way to put it, dynamic and outward-reaching. And that leads naturally into the underlying principles the document identifies.
Okay. First up is the principle of universality. Feels like we've touched on this with all nations.
We have, but the document really digs into how radically inclusive this is meant to be.
How so?
It actively dismantles those historical barriers, racial, cultural, political. The idea is the core message, things like love, forgiveness, there for every heart.
Regardless of origin.
Exactly. Not bound by human lines on a map or social structures, every single person.
That's a powerful counter to any kind of exclusion. Then the imperative of discipleship. We hear that word a lot. What's the document's angle?
The key thing here is that it's central, absolutely core, and it's a process, not a one-off event.
A journey.
A lifelong journey, yeah, of learning, growing, changing. It's not just ticking the box saying, I believe. It's continuous.
And it highlights 2 parts to this journey.
It does. First, mentorship and growth. That's about actively nurturing faith.
Oh.
Through teaching, sure, but also by example, and through community support. It's about guiding that spiritual development intentionally.
Okay.
The second part is lifelong learning. And this isn't just for the person being mentored. No, it applies to everyone. Every disciple is learning and sharing, growing and understanding divine truth. It's like everyone's both a student and a teacher, constantly.
So it's active, ongoing, and reciprocal, not just passive learning.
Exactly. Very dynamic.
And the third principle, the power of presence. This connects to a specific promise, right?
Yes, the promise, I am with you always. The document stresses this isn't just, a nice thought.
It's foundational.
Foundational. It's the assurance of divine companionship. That's where the strength and courage for the mission come from. Knowing you're not alone no matter how tough it gets.
That constant support must be crucial, especially when stepping into that unknown we talked about.
Absolutely essential.
Okay, so we have the core idea, the principles.
Yeah.
Then the document looks at the broader implications in a global context. This is where it connects to the wider world.
Yes, and this is fascinating because it shows this isn't just theology in a vacuum. It has real-world effects. First, cultural exchange, and enrichment.
How does that work?
Well, when you genuinely engage with different cultures as part of this mission, it forces dialogue, doesn't it? It builds respect. You learn from each other. It broadens everyone's perspective. It's not a one-way street.
So mutual learning, I like that. Second implication, social transformation. Looking at history.
Exactly. The document points out how the core ideas, equality, compassion, human dignity, have often fueled social justice movements and community reforms. These principles have historically been a catalyst for positive change in societies.
A tangible impact. And thirdly, interconnected communities. Very relevant today.
Totally. In a world that often feels so divided, this universal call acts like a bridge.
How so?
It brings people from diverse backgrounds together into, well, a kind of family of believers. It emphasizes shared humanity over division.
So these implications aren't just abstract thoughts. The document says they affect leadership, community building, even global diplomacy.
That's the point. These core ideas have practical consequences for how we live and organize ourselves, from the local level right up to the global.
Which leads perfectly into the next section, living the charge today. How do we actually do this now? In the 21st century.
Right. And the first point is about balancing local impact, global vision.
It's not one or the other.
Not at all. It highlights churches, faith groups, working on immediate local needs, social services, education, interfaith dialogue, but doing it while keeping that big picture global mission in mind. The local action feeds into the global vision and vice versa.
That makes sense. Grounded action with a wider purpose. Second aspect. Innovative outreach. Technology must come in here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The document points to social media, podcasts like this one, online communities. These are like new frontiers.
Reaching people you couldn't before.
Exactly. Breaking down geographical barriers in a totally new way. It's a huge shift.
Huge opportunities and probably new challenges too.
No doubt.
Okay, third way of living it out, community empowerment.
Yeah.
This sounds like more than just talking.
It definitely is. The focus isn't just, evangelism in the narrow sense. It's about helping local communities become self-sufficient centers of hope and change.
Through partnerships.
Yes, genuine partnerships with local leaders. Understanding the culture deeply. Finding solutions that actually fit their context. Empowering them from within.
Building local capacity. Got it. And the document uses this image. A mosaic of lives transformed through small acts of faith.
Yeah, it's a powerful image. It tries to make it concrete. Think of a volunteer's simple kindness or leaders resolving conflict based on these principles. Small acts that together create this bigger picture of positive change. It shows the human impact.
Makes it tangible. And this section wraps up by saying, this isn't a finished story. It's a living invitation for every generation.
Exactly. A continuous call to participate in transformation, shaping both the faith community and the wider world. It's ongoing.
Okay, we've seen what it is, the principles, the impact, how it's lived now. But then the document really leans into understanding the weight of the mandate. It's not optional, is it?
Not according to this document, no. It's framed as a divine imperative, non-negotiable.
Based directly on those words in Matthew 28, after the resurrection.
Right. These aren't seen as suggestions. They carry the full weight of Jesus' authority.
And the language itself is analyzed, starting with go. Seems simple, but there's more to it.
Much more. Go isn't just travel. It implies action, movement, being intentional.
Breaking out of complacency.
Precisely. Actively pursuing the mission, not just waiting for it to happen. Intentional engagement.
Then make disciples. We touched on this, but the document stresses again. It's a process.
Yes. A sustained process.
Yeah.
Not just a quick conversion moment. It's about nurturing, guiding, fostering growth over the long haul. A deep, ongoing development.
And all nations.
Yeah.
We know it means universal, but the document says it actively removes barriers.
Yeah, it's presented as deliberately dismantling divisions, ethnicity, nationality, social status. None of that matters for this call. It makes the church inherently global and inclusive by its very definition.
The document also talks about the enduring urgency and finality. It can't be put off.
That's the sense. These words are seen as defining the church's identity and purpose for all time. It's a heavy responsibility.
And backed by that promise of presence to the very end of the age.
Exactly, which underlines the lifelong commitment involved fostering learning, compassion, transformation, creating a legacy.
And it connects this theory back to practice again.
It does. through community engagement, local outreach, interfaith dialogue, humanitarian work.
And the modern stuff.
And the modern stuff, using tech for digital outreach and mentoring, plus those crucial spiritual formation programs for lifelong growth.
So the message is clear. This is a powerful divine command requiring courage, dedication, commitment to love and unity.
Absolutely. And living it out connects you to this bigger global story of faith and compassion, honoring the mandate and shaping the world.
It's not easy. The document acknowledges that up front in the next section, the complexity of the task.
Yeah, it doesn't sugarcoat it. Spreading this message globally is incredibly complex. There are cultural hurdles, language barriers, spiritual challenges. It demands wisdom.
And spirit-led action, it says.
Right, not just human effort.
Let's break down those complexities. First, unraveling cultural barriers. That sounds tricky.
It really is. How do you make the core message connect deeply in wildly different cultures?
Without changing the core message itself.
Exactly. You need to use cultural idioms, symbols, ways of thinking that resonate locally, but that takes immense sensitivity, adaptability, humility, really.
A genuine interest in understanding their world.
Totally. Not just imposing your view.
Okay, that embracing linguistic diversity. We talked about 7,000 languages. That's staggering.
It is. Language can be a bridge or a massive barrier. Translating scripture accurately, that's a huge sacred task.
Requiring serious skill.
Linguistic and theological expertise. But the power of someone hearing it in their own heart language, that's transformative.
Makes sense. Third challenge. Confronting persecution and resistance. A difficult reality.
A very difficult reality in many places. The document acknowledges the risks, social pushback, political opposition, even violence.
So it takes courage.
Huge courage, wisdom in approach, and a deep reliance on faith. It mentions the sacrificial aspect that this calling can involve real hardship, even martyrdom sometimes.
A sobering reminder. And the final complexity. Battling spiritual deception. What does that involve?
Well, the message doesn't exist in a vacuum. There are competing ideas, secularism, other beliefs. It's a clash of worldviews sometimes. So believers need discernment, it argues, to navigate all that, which comes from a deep personal relationship with God, a solid grounding in their own faith.
Right. So faced with all this complexity, culture, language, opposition, competing ideas, you can't just wing it.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the final section. A strategy rooted in the spirit.
Exactly. It argues for an approach that's both strategic and spiritually guided. It calls for deep cultural intelligence. Meaning missionaries, leaders, anyone involved really needs to immerse themselves, learn the language, the customs, the values, truly understand the context to communicate effectively.
Goes beyond tourism, for sure. Requires real empathy.
Deep empathy and engagement. Then there's the need for an unwavering commitment to gospel fidelity.
Holding fast to the core message, even when it's tempting to water it down.
Precisely. Amidst all the pressures to conform or compromise, the document stresses sticking to those unchanging truths. That's where the transformative power lies, it argues.
Okay, and the last piece of the strategy. Practical application and innovation.
Yeah, the church or the community of faith needs to keep evolving its methods. From grassroots projects addressing real needs to using digital tools smartly, finding new ways to fulfill the old mission in today's world, adapting creatively.
So wrapping it all up, the document circles back to the huge responsibility of the Great Commission. It calls for deliberate action, cultural empathy, unwavering faith.
And it stresses that facing these challenges isn't just a burden, it's part of a bigger story.
A story of transformation.
Exactly. Community transformation, personal growth. Bridging divides, bringing hope, unity, and love. That's the ultimate vision presented.
Wow. Okay. That was a really thorough journey through that document. We've covered the core nature of the Great Commission, central, universal. We've hit the complexities, the challenges.
Culture, language, resistance.
And the need for commitment and that spirit-led strategy.
Right. Intelligence, fidelity, innovation.
So thinking about all this huge, timeless call to make disciples of all nations in our world today, which is so connected yet so divided. Here's something to maybe reflect on personally.
Okay.
What's one practical step, just one thing, you can maybe take this week in your own life, your own circle, to engage a bit more actively with this mission?
That's a good question to chew on.
Yeah, just something to consider. We definitely encourage everyone listening to keep thinking about these ideas, what they mean personally. This deep dive, it's really just scratching the surface, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the start of a much bigger conversation.